Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Growth Interviews. It's my honor and pure honor to meet Bob Moesta in person here at How to Web. He's been so kind to come to Bucharest, and his talk was amazing, and he restated in 30 minutes what we should be how we should expand our way to understand the product and growth. So Bob, thanks a lot
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, and the expectation should be lower. It was okay. So Jobs to Be Done really came about, there was a group of us who were struggling with kind of how to interpret what consumers said and what they meant. And so what you started to realize is that the world of marketing has marketing research where they actually try to talk to people about what they want. And you start to realize that consumers don't know what they want. They don't know how to articulate what they want. They don't know the answer or the solution, but they can tell you about why they don't want what they have and the outcomes they hope for by having a new product. And so part of this was basically, as an engineer, people would come with these requirements like, oh, make it easy, make it fast, make it cheap. But easy has 27 different dimensions. I can make it easy to install, easy to put in, easy for people to use, easy for people to uninstall. Like, easy has all these different things, and is easy the number of steps? Is easy the amount of time? How do I know what easy means? And so you start to realize that we have this language we use to tell people what we want, but it's actually very imprecise. Yeah. And so Jobs was me as an engineer trying to figure out and unpack the words that people used to what they meant. And so ultimately, I try to surround the consumer by what context are they in where they want something better, and what are they hoping for the moment that they buy something new. And so all of it is solution agnostic, so I don't care what people actually buy, but it allows me to have a design criteria by which to actually then figure out kind of what else I can go build. And what I would say at the heart of it is, if there's no struggling moment, nobody will ever buy anything new. So struggling is at the core of what Jobs is about. Without a little bit of a push or some kind of pain or some gap in their life, and without a struggle, they actually can't even see the new product. And so part of this is to realize that there's a pain and a gain, but it's really about what I call pushes and context and outcomes and pulls. And it's those sets that actually work together from a math perspective to help us see what opportunity is. So you have to actually think of the opportunity as both sides, the negative side of why I have to change and the positive side of what I'm going to get out of it. I don't care what people say, I care what people do. And so by understanding what people actually do, we actually get down to the trade-offs they're willing to make. So it's not only about that context and outcome, but it's the trade-offs. What do they value more? Am I willing to wait a little bit longer to have it right, or am I willing to actually give up on two things so I can have it today? And so part of this is to understand the trade-offs that people make, which is really important. Do you struggle with email?
Yeah.
Everybody does. Are you trying to solve it?
I'm trying, yeah, but I don't.
No, but you're not, because you're not buying anything new. To be honest, you don't think switching any email program won't actually help you.
Yeah, I try to switch my habits of having zero inbox and so on.
But here's the thing: is you blame yourself. You don't blame a product. Yeah. So you have no idea how to fix that problem, but you struggle with it every day. Everybody does, right? And the thing is there'll be at some point in time, somebody's going to introduce a new email product that literally is going to be, think of this, email is the to-do list somebody else gives you. Why do I have to accept every email from somebody? So all of a sudden, how do I change this? And so part of this is that you can find things in people's struggling moments all the time. And so how do you find them, and how do you figure out where they are, and how do you go after them? Because it's real growth. So the thing you want to talk about is growth. Real growth comes where people struggle and nobody knows what to do. It doesn't come from beating competition. it doesn't come from actually doing something that somebody else already does and doing it better. It comes from people who don't even know they have a problem and helping them see the problem and figure out how to make progress. Yeah. That was the example with Paul LeBlanc at SNHU. He literally has gone from 500 online students. He will have 200,000 online students, and the basic question is how many people want to go back to school but can't? And that's what he solved.
Yeah.
Sorry, where do you want to go from there?
that also means that you need to broadcast differently. So it's not about finding only the struggling moments and articulating your message differently, but also finding out how to broadcast the message and how to find
where and when to broadcast. So part of this is that it's in time and space, because at some point in time, if I tell somebody at the wrong point in time, or I tell it in the wrong space, they won't actually hear the message. If you remember, one of the quotes I had from Clay was, a question creates a space in a brain for a solution to fall into. And so if people don't ask themselves, boy, I could do better at this, or I want to do better at this, they can't see your solution at all. And so part of it is to know where and when they ask themselves that question. Because I don't believe you can sell somebody anything. They convince themselves. And so how do people convince themselves to pull your product or my product into their lives?
Yeah. You said that this is as well working in the B2B space.
Oh, yeah.
However, the decision makers are different. I mean, companies, the company can suffer, but someone has his own KPIs, and which, if they are not aligned with the company objective and suffering, he's not going to move a finger.
Happens all the time, right?
Yeah. So how do you solve this, and how do you push this kind of methodology?
So let me ask this. How does a company decide that they're going to move to Salesforce?
After some struggling.
That's right. And so the question is who usually makes that decision? The VP of IT?
No, I don't.
The VP of sales?
Maybe. Yeah.
VP of marketing? Yeah. Somebody in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the thing is there's somebody who has the energy that is driving that decision. And you need to understand that everybody else is there to throw them off track. But the reality is there's somebody who, it doesn't randomly end up, Salesforce ends up in my company. There's some driving force behind it, and that's the person you have to talk to, because they're the ones who are literally putting their life on the line, putting the political clout on the line. And if you talk to anybody lower, they're only doing what somebody's told them to do. Yeah, and so part of this is you got to be able to figure out where the driving forces are and where are the actual energy for somebody to say,
so how do you find that? Because there are a lot of big companies
So number one is I only talk to people who actually already bought. Right? So the thing is even if it was before Salesforce, how many people tried to make a better CRM or implement a new CRM? Like, why did you do it? What was going on? It's the same reason why they're buying Salesforce. It's just they happened to buy Microsoft Dynamics before. Or they bought I don't know, some other CRM package. So the jobs actually don't change over time. What changes is their criteria of how they choose. So the context usually remains the same. We can't keep track of who our customers are. It's actually too slow and too cumbersome. There's the problems are all the outcome is, so we can actually target market better. I mean, that was the same pitch 20 years ago. And so my thing is they just happen to buy Salesforce now because it's a better solution than what it was before. But part of it is understanding how does it get bought? What are the dominoes that have to fall in somebody's life? Sorry, I'm a little passionate about this, and the camera's throwing me off a little bit. But you're fine. It's like I'm trying to go out. Yeah. No, you're good. But the reality is that like it's not random that somebody buys Salesforce. It's not random that somebody buys Basecamp. It's cause. And so how do we actually understand that causality? And not think about it as random and not think about it as correlation. Just because I'm 54 and I have this income and I live in that zip code doesn't cause me to buy a new car. And that's how the marketing world thinks, and that's where they think growth comes from. It doesn't. I make you think.
Yeah, and that's good. That means I can transform, right?
No?
I have the feeling it is.
It's rare to think for me, right? Okay.
No. Mostly you have an answer.
Yeah. So if you interrogate the audience,
yes,
and if you find out these things, you have your own biases as an interrogator as well.
I don't. I have some. You're correct. I do. Sure.
I mean, you come up with some kind of an agenda, or you have some assumptions as well.
Nope. So tell me about something you recently bought.
A house.
You bought a house?
Yeah.
Wow, when did you buy the house?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. How long have you been looking for a house?
8 months.
8 months. And do you rent now or do you have a house? Did you sell a house to get?
Yeah, I sold the house to buy another.
So, and did you sell the house already?
Yeah.
So when did you sell the house?
1 week before.
So you had to buy a house.
I had to buy a house, yeah.
So why did you look for 8 months?
Because I couldn't sell my house, and because I had the real estate agent and I trusted the middleman. However, 3 weeks before, I decided to put to advertise, and I sold it directly.
Got it. So you sold it directly, right? So now it's gone. When do you close? Is the house you bought the perfect house for you?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
It's perfect. No trade-offs.
No trade-offs. Yeah.
Really? And so you didn't want to build a house?
I wanted to build a house, but I haven't got enough time to invest in that because I have a life to...
So wait a second. So it's not the perfect house?
Yeah, it's not a perfect house.
So that's my point, is you've made some trade-offs to take this because you'd really like to build your house, but you don't have enough time to actually build the house.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this is the interrogation. I have no bias. I'm just trying to hear your story. And the reality is I'm following the energy of like, oh, your shoulders go down. It's like, oh, I really want to build a house, but I just don't have enough time. So I bought this other house. Oh, it's a perfect house. You're lying to yourself that it's the perfect house. It's not, is it?
You're right.
And you made trade-offs basically just because you sold your house. If you hadn't sold your house, you'd still be looking.
Yeah.
So this is the point: is there's lies you tell yourself, and this is really about actually understanding what things do really matter to you. And the fact is how it works. I would typically take this for 45 minutes to dig into why you picked that house over any other house, and I can tell you the criteria of the house you wanted to build and what else you should do to this house to make it your perfect house. But you're literally just going to move into it thinking it's good enough. You don't tell them you're going to interrogate them. So I start with this, like, you recently bought your company's product, right? Amazing. So can you tell me how you got here? Like, you didn't randomly end up in buying it. You didn't randomly end up firing somebody. Can you just tell me what happened and why you decided to say today's the day I'm going to actually sign up for your product? And people can tell you the story, and you just have to dig. When they say like, well, it was good, right? Most people, so this is where you have to listen to not only what people say, but how they say it. When you say, oh, it's good, and they go down, there's an exception. When they go, oh, it's really good, and they go up, they really like it. So you gotta say, well, what do you really like about it? So you gotta follow the energy of how people talk.
That means in-person interrogation, not online service.
No, I don't do any service, but everything is either voice to voice on the phone or face to face. And to be honest, I only need 10 interviews to figure out what it is. I don't need a big sample. I don't need because the underlying causality is the Pareto Principle. What are 20% of the causes that represent 80% of the reasons why people do something? And so I don't need a whole bunch of data to actually figure out what's going on in a market. Every new innovation is literally replacing some old innovation. So people will stop using something to start using you. So one place to always start is to say, like, look, who fired what? What are people not going to use when your product comes out? And so I can go interview people on that alternative and figure out why people buy it. So again, I don't have Salesforce, and I'm literally getting into Salesforce. How do I figure this out? I go find people who bought CRM packages. It's the same causes. It has nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with people's lives. I don't care about the product to actually design a better product. I care about people.
Yeah, so
very different. Most people fall in love with the product, not the problem. I think education is teaching people wrong. I think they're teaching people how to think, or what to think, not how to think. I think they're actually forcing people to think that the value is in technology, and the reality is that I believe we have actually more technology than the market can consume. We're just not ready to actually make the progress that technology can do for us. And so part of this is, what I talk about is horizontal skills. I have an engineering skill, I have a marketing skill, I have a sales skill. Very few people have horizontal skills. And so to me, one of the things I'm trying to do is actually teach people about basically how to, so I talk about these 5 skills of an innovator. So one of them is being able to have empathetic perspective, see the customer or see the problem or the product from multiple perspectives, from finance perspective, from a sales perspective, from an operations perspective, from the macro level, from the micro level. Really good innovators can literally swarm around something and move like that between all these different perspectives, and they can move through time. So they can see what happened in the past, they can see what's going to happen in the future, and they have this empathetic perspective. That's not an engineering degree. That's not a business degree. The way you learn perspective is through the arts. You actually learn it through drawing. You learn it through theater. You learn it through improv. And so part of this is to realize, like, we're not training entrepreneurs in the skills that they need to be successful. Right? And so another skill is this notion of causal structures. They have mental models of how things work. Right? Very good entrepreneurs, they're not necessarily have one. They probably have 6 or 7 different mental models. The reality is like at some point, it's a little bit of engineering, it's a little bit of psychology, it's a little bit, but everybody's saying, like, no, become an engineer, become an entrepreneur, become a business person, become an entrepreneur, become a marketer, entrepreneurial people are really horizontal people. And so typically that's why they fail, because the first time they start is in some vertical, and then they realize, oh, I got to learn about this, and then I got to learn about that. And once they build their horizontal notion, they can actually,
they don't stop.
That's right. And then it's like you learn, by the time you learn the third vertical of your horizontal, like, now you can do anything. But the reality is, like, the way we teach at school is like, be a really good engineer, be a great engineer. It's just not right. So I think part of the problem of the entrepreneurial world is we're trying to apply an academic realm to a very evolved set of skills and abilities where there's no, quote, theory that they can teach at academia. So I just wrote a book actually on this. It's called Choosing College. Believe it or not, I have one with me. And it's really about what causes people to say, I'm going to go pay $100,000 to go to school. That's the book.
That's the book.
And the reality is that what we did is I went in off and interviewed over 100 different people who literally paid money to go to a workshop, to go to community college, to go to get their master's degree, to get their undergrad, and just at least like, what are the underlying causal factors that say, yeah, I'm going to go to school or go back to school. And this is, so again, most people worry about where to go, but the real question is, why are you going? And if you don't understand why, you don't actually know how to define value for yourself. So you go, oh, I'm going to get in the best school I can. And then you don't know what you want to study. Right? And so, to me, education is really, so what I've decided is, to be honest, there are 10 markets where consumers are just bad consumers, and education is one of them. Think about this. I'm going to actually say, you know what? Do you have any children?
Yeah, I have 2 children.
So you have 2 children. And it's like, so what do you want to study when you go to college? Did you ask them that?
Yeah.
And are they through college? Are they in college? Are they ready? Are they getting ready to go?
They are 11 and 13. Yeah.
So you're going to ask them, what do they want to do? And they're going to say, I have no idea. And then, at least in the United States, we'll send them for a year, and they have to pay $26,000 to figure out, maybe I want to be a marketer, or maybe I want to be an accountant. But they don't know. They actually don't even know what it's about. So people are spending so much time, and the schools are like, hey, you can stay here as long as you want, as long as you can pay. Right? And so what happens is that we're not actually helping children and preparing children to actually figure out what they want to do, 1. And 2 is, because it's such a bad consumer market, because it's more about where they go than why they go, they don't know how to actually choose. And so part of this is in the schools, the universities actually don't know how to solve the problem, because they treat every student exactly the same. Just like every hospital treats every patient the same. Just like every bank treats every customer the same. And the reality is there is no sameness in any of this. Yeah. And so whether it's healthcare, whether it's college, whether it's anything, the thing is there is never one answer. There are always, and there's never a million answers. There's somewhere between, I'd say 3 and 8 answers, but no more. how do you learn best?
By doing, by playing.
Right. When did you learn how you learned? When did you learn how you learned? Like if I said, look, you gotta go learn this.
After I started to do, after a few failures.
That's right. How old were you?
I was like 26.
Okay, so wait a second, think about this. You learned at 26, after you went to college, how you learned, because they forced you to learn their way.
Yeah.
We all learn differently. Then the people who are really good at academia are people who can only learn their way. I'm a dyslexic, I can't learn their way. I had to learn my own way. Thank God I learned when I was about 7 or 8. I learned through verbal, I learned through moving, I learned through visual. I have a very specific sequence by which I have to do things to get it into my brain. But by the way, once it gets in my brain, it never comes out. But it's got to be put in the right sequence with the right things. Nobody's spending the time to learn how we learn. And so if you think about it, the stuff you learn now is like, you have this problem, you literally realize that there's a potential solution, and you literally learn about it right then, and then you apply it, and then you fail, and then you apply it again, and then you fail, and then you learn, but you learn it in the moment. Why do I gotta spend 4 years learning stuff that I never think I'm gonna use? Crazy.
That's crazy, eh? We're living.
But here's the thing is, in academia, the academy believes that that's the only way to learn. And my belief is it better for your children to work at Google and then go to Apple, or go to Stanford?
Of course, going to Google and Apple.
That's right. And so,
for sure,
so here's the crazy part, is there are companies now who are literally taking kids out of high school and saying, look, don't go to college, come work for us, and we'll actually give you a 4-year degree so you can learn everything you need to learn about management. But you're going to learn and do at the same time. So you're going to start to see this hybridization of things, because here's the thing is, the companies that hire people out of college realize they need another year of training just to make them productive in their company. Why? Because they're not teaching them what they need to know.
Yeah.
And it's not about what they need to know, it's about how they learn.
And how they apply those kind of learnings.
So why don't we understand how, like, why did it take you 32 years to figure out how you learn? Why couldn't you figure that out when you were 6? Because we have to teach everybody the same way, because the teacher has to teach their way. And it's all the Socratic method. It's not the only method to learn. So what are the struggling moments? So like one of the biggest struggling moments we all have is, are you prepared to die? Right? Most people don't want to talk about, I'll do it when I retire. I've picked the day I'm going to die. As strange as it sounds, but that date enables me to make way better decisions than not having that date. Right? And so I took my mom's birthday and her death day and literally added it to mine and said, like, I'm going to die December 17th, 2029. Or 2028, I think. The thing is, I have 9 years left in my life. Right? If I see my kids four times or once a quarter for 9 years, I'll see my kids 36 more times in my life. That's wrong. My thing is I got to go find times or ways in which to get them together, to spend more time with them, to be with them, because that's way more important than me spending time talking to somebody, right? Yeah. I'm here. My wife is here. Every time I go somewhere, I try to bring somebody with me. If I don't bring somebody with me, I try to go back home. Yep. But my thing is I'm trying to be here so I can teach as many people as I can to learn about these methods and tools, because in the end, Dr. Deming said it, he goes, the people who struggle the most will always learn the most. And so my belief is, here in Romania, people want to learn and they want to do better, which is why I'm here. So as a dyslexic, people told me that, and the way that HR always worked is they told you to work on your weaknesses. So you get a performance review, right? And they say like, oh, you're really good at these things, but yeah, you need to work on these things, right? And so one of the things I tried to do is I tried to learn how to spell. But as a dyslexic, it's pretty much a losing battle. And so at 35, I basically gave up on trying to fix my weaknesses. I literally said, screw it. I used to spend 2 hours a day trying to learn how to spell. 2 hours a day for 35 years, or I'll say 30 years, learning how to spell. I suck at it. I still suck at it. But I can do things a lot of people can't do. And so if I could change anything, and I would try to get those 2 hours back for 35 years, I'm working on the shit that I suck at and figure out how to only leverage what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own innate strengths. How do you find them and nurture them and make them your own, and then go find people around you who do love to do the stuff you can't do? That's diversity. Diversity is about actually complementing each other, right? Yeah. That's the important part. I don't believe that we're put here randomly. I've chosen, and I believe it's more choice. And so I believe that if we're put here with purpose, I think the most important thing is to realize what your purpose is, and that your purpose is innately to your soul, and that you've been doing it since the day you were born, but you have never, it's like a fish not seeing the water that they swim in. And so to me, the most important thing is to realize why you're here, what's the purpose you've been given, and how do you actually help the world be a better place. That is pretty much it. And so as I look at my children, my job is to actually prepare them, help them make good decisions, find their passion, and be respectful to the world. My job's not to be their friend. My job is not to actually help them. The more I help them, the more I hurt them, because they need to learn how to innovate like everybody else. So to me, the purpose is to help people be better people, help society be a better society. That's what life's about to me.